Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. If there's one body style from Gibson that I don't talk about a lot, it's the Firebird. But this prototype of a bird that's not meant to be caught my attention. And here she is. But to truly appreciate this prototype, let's do a little bit of a Firebird recap here. There's two main body styles for a Firebird. There's this version, which is a neck-through body that has wings joined to the side. That's a little bit easier to see in this limited edition zebra wood one. And then there's this one, the non-reverse Firebird. So they're basically just flip-flopped images of each other. But this version is not a neck-through design, it's just a set neck. And there's been tons of variations between what pickups they have, what cosmetic appointments they've got. You'll even find some modern day studios that aren't neck-through with the other body style. Oh, and then there's this one, which isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Now that we understand Firebirds a little bit better, let's take a look at this guy. So it is the reverse Firebird body shape, the one that I traditionally prefer, but it is not a neck-through design. You'll notice that it lacks the very distinctive Firebird pickguard, but still has the toggle switch cavity right up here. The control layout looks very similar, but you're going to notice our output jack has been moved. I'm assuming it's over here on the side, and it looks like you can just barely see it right here in this photo. The Tune-o-matic bridge and tailpiece and the mini humbucker setup is the same, but you're going to notice this one has binding. Even the flashiest of Firebirds before now never really had binding along the body. It just wasn't a thing. The only one I could think of before this was done in the early 80s. It was the CMT Firebird Artist 2. So that binding really caught my eye. But then what is this finish? Is it black? No. When you get it in the light just right, it's a slightly metallic plum color, which is kind of interesting. Reminds me of the Les Paul robot guitars. They had one in a similar finish. It's not what I would normally think on a Firebird, but hey, it kind of works here. But now let's move on to this fretboard. What have they done here? It appears to be an ebony fretboard with the split diamond inlays. I believe these were first saw on the Trini Lopez model, but they have been used on quite a few guitars since. The Gibson Vegas Standard series is a good example. Dave Grohl's signature guitar has that, but it's kind of based off the Trini, so a little bit redundant there. And one more example here is the SG Supreme. But speaking of the SG Supremes, this actually got me quite curious about this. Seeing as this was a 2018 prototype that I don't believe was ever officially named, were they trying to create the Firebird Supreme? All they were really missing is like a translucent maple top on the front of this, and then I think they probably could have called it the Firebird Supreme. Guess we should make sure that that wasn't taken already though. Doesn't appear to be. Guitars with these inlays are just kind of cool. They also give me a slightly super strat vibe to them because something called the US-1 had these as well. But moving on to the face of the headstock, there's actually some special stuff going on here. So you kind of got that burgundy plum color on the outside edges, but then the center of the headstock, which is raised up a little bit, is black. And I'm not sure if it's just the photos here, but it appears that it almost has binding around that section, which is not something I've ever seen on a Firebird before. Usually you have that black section there, that's nothing new, but that white trim around that part is really cool. But I'll be honest, I have not seen a lot of Firebirds, so that might not be a new feature, but it's not something I'm familiar with. But I think that really pops that burgundy plum color and separates it from the black portion. And then the Gibson logo is just straight on your truss rod cover, but you're going to notice these tuners. Where are your pegs? Well, these are Steinberger gearless tuners. I had these on a 7-string Flying V and a few others. I don't trust these tuners because it actually broke on me, but apparently they're really good 40-to-1 ratio tuners. I also had these on the Headless SG, but back in the Wild West days, people would scalp these things for as much as $350 on eBay before Gibson started selling them again on their own, starting at $99. The vintage style Firebirds would have what are called banjo tuners, and they stick out so far a lot of the headstocks would snap off because they would touch the bottom of the case. These new and improved tuners have a similar style to them but with less detrimental effects. But looking at the rest of the guitar, it just seems to be that plum finish. Nothing too crazy like heel sculpting away or anything. It looks like you got a nice little comfort carve right there. You've got the built-in shielding back plates. They were probably just trying to use up old inventory there. But it's just kind of an interesting Firebird. So to recap here, you've got binding on the body, no pickguard. The output jack was moved to the side of the guitar, which is a huge thing. You've got the binding on the headstock cap, ebony fretboard with special inlays. This one was for sale over in Japan. It appears to have already been sold, so I can't tell you how much it was, but the listing does state that it was the only one in the world, and it was a 2018 prototype. I'm guessing since we haven't seen these yet, it's a failed prototype, but you let me know down in the comments section below. Would you buy this Firebird if they released them? How much would you pay for this version? Unfortunately, finding a sound sample for this one, probably impossible, but I'll play you some other Firebirds instead. Question left, would you rock this Firebird prototype or not? Leave your answer down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.